Alrighty then, how's it going, guys? And welcome back to another beer review. So today I am particularly excited because I'm going to be reviewing a beer that I have not tried before, which so far, in terms of what I've been doing with beer reviews, even though I know I've only got 3 on this particular channel, is pretty rare because I tend to try beers and then go, oh, I want to make a review of that. So now the beer I'm going to be reviewing today, while I haven't tried it specifically before, I have had several beers from this brewery before. So I'm familiar with the brewery and I'm familiar with at least part of their range. But yeah, this will be the first time I'm trying this particular beer. So enough waffling on for that. Let's have a look at the beer that we're going to be trying today. All right, so this is the beer that we are going to be reviewing today. Petrus Tripel. Now, this is kind of going to be a bit of a, not to say a rare one, but a less common. I'm going to put this here so you guys can see it. This is going to be a bit of a less common video because I have never had Petrus Tripel before, which, you know, is a little bit rare for me because usually the way that these sorts of things work is that I will drink a beer and I will enjoy a beer and then I'll be like, I want to make a review on that. But this is a case where, while I'm very familiar with the brewery and several of the beers in their range, I have never had a Petrus Tripel before. I've had many other triples, but not this particular one. So before we crack this open and have a look at it, I wanted to talk a little bit about the style and a little bit about the brewery, and then we'll crack it open and we'll see how it goes from there. And something else which is going to be interesting today, I happen to have in front of me some Parmigiano Reggiano, some Havarti, some Red Leicester, an assortment of nuts and dried fruits, and some crackers. So I was thinking it might be nice to do a little bit of food pairing because cheese and Tripel does go well together. Now, so let's talk about the style. So the Tripel style was originally created by the Westmalle Abbey, and it is essentially 3 times as much malt as a standard blonde. What that usually means is that they're pretty high in alcohol, usually sitting between 9 to 9.5%. This particular one today is 8%. So it is lighter in alcohol than many other triples. And the other thing that you really do need to know about triples is that while the majority of them are golden in color, that is not a set rule. And the same thing goes with doubles and quadruples. It doesn't have to be dark or light. That is why these are not classified as golden ales or you know, dark ales or something like that. For example, Golden Drac, which is an absolutely incredible dark triple, and you can bet your butt that if I ever get my hands on a Golden Drac, I'm going to do a video for you guys because it is easily one of my favorites. Where was I? So, given the fact that the Westmalle Abbey was the progenitor of the triple style, I will also be drinking today's guest from my Westmalle glass. Now, this one, while maybe not related necessarily to the beer, this is probably one of the most prized glasses in my collection. I absolutely adore this glass. It unlike many of the other glasses that I have, this is not crystal. It is glass. Despite that, I just think it is such an elegant glass. It's got these beautiful sort of scalloped flowers on the sides, and it's got the Westmalle written and embossed on the stem of the glass here. It does not have a nucleation site, which means that there's not going to be like a fountain of bubbles coming from the middle of the glass, but hey, what can you do? It is what it is. Not all glasses have nucleation sites. Now, before we open it, let us discuss a little bit about Petrus and where it comes from and the brewery. So, Petrus is brewed by Brouwerij de Brabander, which was established in the late 1800s, specifically the 1890s, and they are most notably known for their Pilsner called Bavik. And it's called Bavik because the Brabander brewery is located in Bavico in the West Flanders region. And so the northern part of Belgium. The brand Petrus, brewed by Brabander, is also named after Saint Peter, who is the patron saint of Bavico. Another interesting fact about Brabander is that they brew quite a wide variety of beers. They don't really necessarily specialize in abbey ales. I guess, though, that probably their biggest claim to fame is their Flemish red ales and also their Foda aged sours. Probably for me the beer that I've had from Petrus that I love the most so far is the Petrus Red, which is a blend of a Foda aged sour, Petrus double, not this one, the double, and it's macerated with cherries. And in my opinion, it is the best cherry beer in the world. I'm sorry, you guys know how much I love Delirium, but Delirium Red doesn't hold a candle to Petrus Red. Oh, I forgot to mention. So Brabander it's a family-owned brewery, and it is currently in its 5th generation fifth generation of ownership, which is awesome. I always loved that about Belgian breweries. I love the fact that they're sort of kept in the family and the traditions are held, which, I just think is special and awesome. So that's about it for the general bits. Let's crack her open and see how she goes. That's right, I'm promoting Westmar and Petrus. I'm a rebel. Alright. Let's see. Alright, so far, what I'm seeing, the head is quite loose. It's not very dense, expected. A little bit rocky. Nice, slightly yellow color. The color of the beer itself is beautifully dark and golden. There is an amazing effervescence in there. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this. Just enough sticking to the glass. Little bright bubbles popping up there, which is beautiful. Let's see how she smells. Yeasty. Not what I was expecting at all. Yeast is normally not the first flavor character that I get. I'm going to put that here. From a triple. Normally it's like a really huge malty whack to the nose. That's definitely yeasty. And some hops coming through there as well. Some apple on the nose as well. Alright, let's go. Let's see how she do. Interesting. That's very interesting. Okay. Absolutely a triple. It carries enough of its character to... I could blind test this as a triple. However, it's light. Most of the other triples that I have had are far more intense than this. the flavor there is remarkably light for a triple, while still carrying enough of that character to be identified as a triple. That is really interesting. This is I would honestly borderline this as sessionable. Excuse me. Very bright, very effervescent, very lively on the palate. It's just got that zing in your mouth. It is incredible. Just as I explained, actually, I think I may have missed this before, for reasons that you guys will discover at the end of the video. The flavor profile of triples, I always describe it almost like an M or twin mountains. So the first sip is always like this huge malty hit, this sweetness, this vibrance, this effervescence dances on your palate, and then that drops off, and then you get this sort of like hoppy kick that whacks in afterwards, and it's sharp, it's crisp, it just sort of like shocks your palate, and then that drops off, and then the flavor dissipates, and you're ready for the next sip. Part of the reason that it's just like triples are so quaffable and incredibly dangerous because of that. This is 100% that. That first sip is that really, although I wouldn't say intense malty, I'd say like a strong malty character. Predominant flavor notes there. Definitely going to be leading with your malt characters, as you would expect. So like some caramel, notable caramel, a little bit of banana-y ester from the yeast. Mild though. The hops are soft. Like, I'm so used to triples being sharper than this. Like, I'm not displeased with it at all, but it's definitely challenging my perception of a triple at this point. Like I said, it's enough to definitely be a triple, but it's also soft for a triple, which, this is... I feel like this is blurring the line between a blonde and a triple, almost. So not as sweet as a blonde, not as hoppy as a triple. So I'm really enjoying that. So why don't, from this point, let's try it with a couple of different cheeses and some dried fruits and stuff like that, and then we'll see how it goes. And I'll also give you guys a quick little tutorial on how to taste, or how to do food pairing. All right, so we are going to start with some Havarti cheese on a rice cracker. So, right, now, let's do a quick tutorial on how to do food and beer tasting and pairing. So there are 3 steps to it. The first thing you're going to do is take a sip of the beer and then eat some of the cheese. Then, actually, you know what? I'm not going to do the cracker to start with. I'm just going to do straight cheese. So you taste the beer and then you taste the cheese. Then wait for a minute for your palate to reset. Then taste the cheese and then taste the beer. Mark the differences. And then finally, you do one more, which is where you put the cheese and the beer in your mouth together and you mix it all up and you see where that takes you. That is literally the correct way to do food pairing, at least when it comes to beer. Right, so let's go. All right, first things first, sip of beer, followed by the cheese. Okay. Okay, so there's a little bit of a sort of like, I guess you would say, funkiness to Havarti, which didn't necessarily play well with the beer when I did it that way. However, I did notice that it elevated the saltiness of the Havarti, so probably a good thing that I didn't do the rice cracker. All right, let's try again. Now this time I'm going to do cheese followed by beer. This is fantastic cheese, by the way. Interesting. That really amplified the sweetness of the beer. Like, seriously amplified the sweetness of the beer. Caveat, aftertaste, no good. No good at all. So, Havarti and Petrus Tripel. Look, you're not going to hate it, but yeah, that wasn't really a very good one. Let's go one step up. Let's try with some Red Leicester, shall we? Now, Red Leicester, much sharper flavour. Honestly speaking, considering the character of the Red Leicester, I feel like this is going to be a much better pairing. Red Leicester. Same process again. Oh, by the way, I'm skipping the mixing of the beer with the Havarti because I just know it's not really the best already. Yeah, here we go. Oh, yeah, sorry. Sip first. There it is. Way better. Oh, the creaminess just kicked in. Oh, that's way, way better. Okay. So, the beer really amplified the nuttiness of the Red Leicester just then. And interestingly, in contrast to the Havarti, I feel like it almost it rounded off the cheese's flavor a little bit, and it took the saltiness down a notch. Okay, I'm going to do this again. Okay, but this time cheese first. Sharp, nutty, more respect. Okay. So, that one, I'm still getting it. This is actually almost extending the length of the beer on the palate. That one actually really brought out the fruity notes in the beer. The nutty notes from the cheese came in. So, you got the cheese, then you got the beer, and then the cheese came back. It is really interesting how, doing it in the different order affects the overall experience. Okay, so 100% so far, Red Leicester and Westmalle. Oh my God, I didn't mean to say that. I wonder how many times I've called it Westmalle. Red Leicester and Petrus Tripel. I'm sorry. I'm going to be absolutely devastated if I edit this later and I see that I've been calling it Westmalle the whole time. Although, I don't know, you guys are going to have to forgive me for that. Continuing on, now I'm going to mix the two together. So, cheese first, take a sip, chew it all up, and we'll see where that goes. smoky. All right, so overall, I'm not actually going to recommend that last one for this particular pairing. It felt like my mouth didn't know what to do with the flavors there, almost as if it got confused. It was like, I don't know what to make of this, so I'm just going to blur everything. It didn't really do anything as I was chewing it, but then afterwards, I suddenly noticed a smoky note, which is interesting because I don't believe that smoke is something that is... I definitely know it's not part of the beer. I got to admit, I love cheese, but I'm not like a huge cheese guy. I don't know anywhere near as much about cheese as I do about beer, so take that with a grain of salt because I don't think that Red Leicester has anything to do with smoking, but maybe it does. Whatever it was, I did get a notable smoky kick out of that. All right, so let us now follow with the last one, Parmigiano Reggiano. Parmigiano Reggiano. Okay. Parmigiano Reggiano. Now, admittedly, this is not super high quality Parmigiano Reggiano. It's just what I got at the local supermarket, but it'll do. Sip, then cheese. Okay. 100%. So, well, the Red Leicester was a good pairing. Parmesan did even better because that really brought out a sweetness in the cheese. And then again, Parmesan is a nutty cheese, and it amplified both of those characteristics, the sweetness and the nuttiness, and it dialed back the saltiness. So that was good. That was very nice. I would like to try that with a really high quality Parmesan. All right, next try. Cheese, then beer. Salty, dry. Okay. Interesting. That emphasized the hoppiness of the beer. Definitely a more pronounced bitterness. The nuttiness of the cheese was drowned entirely. I think I preferred it the other way around, if I'm honest. So, we've got to try it together, but so far what we're seeing is beer, then cheese. Beer, then cheese, beer, then cheese, beer, then cheese. Okay, last one. No. Same thing with the Red Leicester. Did bring out a little bit of the aged note of the Parmigiano Reggiano, but yeah, no good. It just drowns out the flavors, I'll go back to the Red Leicester. Try a little bit more this time. And this time I'm going to try on a cracker. I'm going to take a sip first. It's so good. It's so good. Okay. Definitely. They're pretty close, but Red Leicester and Petrus Tripel. That is a damn good mix. All right. So now we're already at 26 minutes. So I'm going to cut it off here. Thank you for joining me on this journey to taste Petrus Tripel, not Westmalle Tripel. Petrus Tripel out of a Westmalle glass. I hope it's been informative. Please, if you have any questions, leave them in a comment down below. And guys, look, I would seriously love to grow my YouTube channel. I know that I don't have the most consistent uploading schedule ever. And that's because this is something that I do purely from a passion standpoint, not from a monetary standpoint. If my channel ever grew to that stage, that would be great. But it's always ever going to be from a passion standpoint. I do this because it's fun. If you are interested in seeing more videos like this, consider subscribing. There you go. I did the whole YouTube plug thing. All right, so that'll do it for me today. Stick around for some bloopers. Until next time, have a good one. So Brouwerij de Brabander. Oh God, now I sound like an American. I just realized that I've been talking to you guys for about 10 minutes and I haven't been recording anything. I'm an idiot. All right.